Welcome to another episode of Chris McDaniel's America here on the Midnight Ride Network, your home of the anti-establishment movement in this country. Jack, thanks for being here.
Hey, welcome back. We've missed you.
Yeah, it's been good. As you can see, I've been in the wilderness growing a beard. Is that bad? It's
Well,
still, I see you're doing the same thing.
yeah, I've had mine for I think a couple of months now.
Yeah.
It gets cold and then it doesn't, so I'm debating whether or not to keep it.
Well, it's still a great disguise. You look just like, what's that guy's name? You're Tom Cruise without it. It's weird.
I thought you were going to say with it I look like Santa Claus or something because it's
Anyway, thanks for being here. It's good to see you. I'm glad to be back. I don't know if you've been watching over the last, 24 hours, but Mississippi has engaged in a great debate over early voting. And, the Governor Reeves, I think, started the party with a post, and, I had to double down.
hmm
Uh, proudly so. Proudly so. And I'm going to explain all that tonight as to what I was doing, what I wasn't doing, and why I said what I said. And then we're going to talk about the issues. And we're not going to be harmful or hateful or spiteful. We're going to speak as best we can truth. And if it's not true, then let me know and I'll correct it. Is that a deal, Jack?
That's a deal.
All right. Here's the thing. So it all begins with a work day. And I don't know if you know this or not, but my real job in the world, besides agitating liberals, is practicing law. And I have a law firm that is diverse and it's complex and it keeps me moving every day. And so, in fairness to the things political in this world, I have been a bit negligent in covering or even paying attention to things. I have focused on some of the stories. I'm familiar with some of the stories, but last night was an example of me kind of being in a tunnel of research, trying to figure out some complex legal issues. And then I see Governor Tate Reeves post about my friend Jeremy England. And, I've known Tate a long time, and we've had our differences certainly, but Tate, if anything, he is a Republican, and he is a conservative. We have fought, and we have had disagreements in personalities, and those have been well documented. I think Jack, I don't mind fighting.
No,
I
never knew that.
I find great joy in discussing the issues of the day, and I hope to do it, kindly as much as possible, and I'll get to that point in a second. But last night, I'm taking it easy. I get done with work. I go get a bite to eat. Then I see Tate Reeves make this pretty aggressive post against Jeremy England. And Jack, again, look at me. If I'm saying something incorrect now, it's up to you to fact check me here, right? And also to you out there. But in the post, Tate Reeves really jumped on Jeremy England pretty aggressively. And if you don't know who Jeremy England is a state senator from the coast area. And Jeremy England right now is the chairman of elections for the Senate committee. And he ushered out an early voting bill. Tate Reeves didn't like that one bit.
Nor should he.
And he hit him pretty hard. And I was actually happy to see that. Not because I wanted Jeremy to get hit. That's not the issue. I like people to have strong debates when they should matter. Now look at me, Jack. The problem with this society right now is that we're not having debates. And you have to almost create drama to get the debate started. I mean, think about it. The Senate committee passes this early voting bill. It goes to the floor. Now get this. Nobody even knew it passed out of the Senate committee. That's how busy we all are. I know those senators think they're so busy and everybody's paying attention. Nobody even knew it got to the floor. Next thing you know, bam, it passes. Well, here's the news. That was the first time any Senate elections chairman had ever let a bill out like that. When I was Senate elections chairman, I killed it.
Yep.
The Senate elections chairman before me killed it. We've always killed it. Phil Bryant, when he was lieutenant governor, killed it. Tate killed it. Everybody has killed it. We killed it because it's not good policy.
No, it's terrible.
Helps the Democrats. And you say, Chris, what do you mean it helps the Democrats? Hear me out, Jack. Remember, you're here to fact check me. But I recall the Democratic spokesperson, Senator David Blunt, who was a friend of mine. I like David very much. He indicated the top 3 priorities of Mississippi Democrats this year were Medicaid expansion, right?
That's correct.
Early voting.
That was one, yes.
And letting felons vote.
Yep.
Now, that was the State of the Union response, the top 3 issues of the Democrats. So let's go back to that. Number 2 was early voting. So help me understand why a Republican-controlled chamber would pass a top 3 Democrat issue in presumably the reddest state in the country.
Oh, pick me.
Do you want to take a shot at it?
Well, I think because when you look at the person that is controlling the Senate chambers, and
That wouldn't be
knowing-
Delbert Hosemann, would it?
That would be Delbert Hosemann.
Delbert
And
Hosemann.
I think that he has proven time and time again that he is, in fact, a Democrat. I think he has proven time and time again that he selects committee chairmen who are nothing more than yes men for himself. You correct me if I'm wrong, since you actually served there. But
Hey, I don't want to cause any more trouble.
well,
I don't want to cause any more.
So
I've done enough.
No
I've done enough
Teletubby
over
comments.
24 hours.
No Teletubby.
Hold on. That's so inappropriate. I'm gonna get to that. So maybe there's some truth to that. It would seem to me that the body takes on the personality of the LG. When I was there under Phil Bryant, that was a pretty conservative body.
It was.
I mean, think about it. Phil was a no-nonsense kind of conservative, and we behaved conservatively. Get this. You're going to love this. Did you know at the time when I first arrived there, the Democrats had a numerical advantage in the chamber? But because Phil was so conservative, and because we behaved like conservatives, we literally got a bunch of conservative stuff passed, even though the Democrats had a numerical majority.
You know, it's crazy. I did know that, but I had forgotten it because
crazy,
it was a successful period.
It was.
In
fact, we not only did that, but a lot of these cats began to switch parties, recognizing that Phil was a conservative. We were conservatives. We were getting conservative things done. Well, let's rock on a few years. Then Tate gets there. Same thing. It's a mostly conservative body. Now, there were some disagreements along the way. Some of us wanted a more conservative position on some things. That's part of life, right?
Yeah.
But now that Delbert's there, look, it's just like any body. They are trying to satisfy the lieutenant governor. And so his personality prevails. And here's why it prevails. He's a strong lieutenant governor from the standpoint of he can control who gets the committee assignments. He can control which bills live or die. Take it from me, he killed all of my bills.
He did.
Okay, so he has the ability to control that as well. And so the senators have to make a tough decision. And I get that it's tough. On one hand, they want to come there, and I think some of them come up there with the intentions of being principled and strong. But then they learn that, dadgummit, if I don't play this game, that guy's gonna, he's gonna take advantage of it. He's gonna kill my bills. He's gonna assign me to the restroom committee. I'll never be chairman of appropriations because he's not gonna let me be chairman of appropriations.
Yeah.
So they begin to do this. Sir, yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. And so the body becomes almost a personification, if you will, of the individual running the body. That's Delbert Hosemann. This early voting process was a big part of that because Delbert's been pushing for early voting since he's been in office. But the conservative members of our body under Phil Bryant and under Tate Reeves and all those years were able to defeat it time and time and time again.
Yep.
And we did it because we knew it was a Democrat objective. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? Democrats have great ideas. No, they don't. No, they don't. We are not in a position in this country where we can say, you know what, the Democrats have great ideas and we should try to mimic them. Our job as Republicans, as I understood my position, was to stop them.
Exactly.
Now you say, well, that's not fair. They may have a good idea from time to time. I've not seen a good Democrat idea since, I don't know, let's see, Roosevelt? No, not even then.
No.
Let's go back further. Look, the thing is this. We have parties for a reason.
Yeah.
And I promise you this. The objective of the Republican Party, whether it's in Mississippi or Alabama or Michigan, is not to pass Democrat legislation.
No, it's not.
Okay.
And I think that's part of why you see, again, on a national scale, why you see the rise of somebody like Donald Trump, because they got tired of all the yes men.
People wonder why we're frustrated with politicians. It's because we work our tails off to elect Republicans, and then they behave like Democrats.
Yep.
And they say, well, it's not that big a deal. Well, maybe not in a vacuum. I'm going to give you an example. The body a couple of years ago supported a partial Medicaid expansion. Well, a couple of more partials, you'll have a full. You see the problem? It's like 1,000 different paper cuts. We'll compromise here. We'll reach across the aisle here. We'll adjust the way we spend here. And the next thing you know, you've got this bloated, out-of-control government that nobody can understand. USAID, for instance. The federal government, as we see now, for instance, that wasn't done just with one big piece of legislation. It was done by Republican surrender slowly over time. This won't hurt this way. I can vote this way, and I'll do this, and it's not that big of a deal. Well, after 16 years of not that big of a deal, it becomes a really big deal. So my point was always this, and it got me in a lot of trouble, even with my colleagues. I really wasn't interested in compromising with Democrats. I ran as a Republican. I believe strongly in that platform. I believe strongly in those principles. And so I spent my time, crazy enough, fighting Democrat ideas, even if they were propounded by Republicans. And that made me unpopular too. And I get that. But here's the thing people don't understand. I don't care. My district sent me to fight for conservative values. And I've never seen one time where we reached across the aisle that equated to a conservative bill being passed. Never. You think about it, whether it's in D.C. or Jackson or wherever the case may be, every time we reach across the aisle, Democrats advance. I've never seen those guys reach across the aisle. When was the last time they reached across the aisle? Think about Obamacare. Remember that? We had 53 amendments trying to get something in the Obamacare bill. Dead. They didn't reach across the aisle.
No.
They had no intention of reaching across the aisle. So why do we? So here we are, early voting. It's been a Republican principle for as long as I've been a Republican that early voting creates mischief. Trump. I'm not going to paraphrase the man. I'm going to read his quote. Talking about early voting, he responded, we should have one key. Let me back up here. Hold on. This video's playing. We should have one-day voting. Paper ballots, he says. Voter ID and certification of citizenship. And that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're wanting. He said that because he felt like he got cheated.
Yeah.
And he felt like he got cheated because of all the early voting fraud that took place in the inner cities, right?
Yep.
These big metropolitan areas. That's where the fraud is. You're not going to find this in Summerall, Mississippi. You're going to find it in Pennsylvania, right? But you're going to find it in Jackson.
Yep.
And you're going to find it in other metropolitan areas in our state, right?
Yep.
So we know that the longer a voting period remains open, the more likely mischief is going to be. Now, I'm going to go through that data in just a minute because I got a ton of it. Do you know why there's a ton of data out there objecting to early voting? Because conservative think tanks, those men and women designed to promulgate good policy, they've been fighting against it forever. And the only reason the RNC has changed its position is because they were so scared of not utilizing it, they felt compelled to fall into line. But Trump hasn't fallen into line. And neither has common sense. Because if you're going to have some mischief on election day, if you have a big, long 3-week election day, you have 3 weeks more of mischief to accrue, right? So here's the thing. The bill gets passed. I know the folks in Jackson think everybody's watching. They're not. But Tate thought it was a big enough deal to bring it to our attention. So I'm sitting there trying to enjoy a touch of Mexican food. I see this post. I'm like, dadgummit, here we go. And I know, too, that this goes right into what we do here at this show, what I've always tried to do. When I see conservatives behaving like Democrats, I'm going to call them out. Do you know it's funny? All this consternation and brouhaha for the last 24 hours, and I've had a bunch of Democrats calling me names. You can imagine defending early voting.
Doesn't that tell you something?
They've been defending early voting, calling me names. Do you know none of them, no Republican, no Democrat has ever called me a rhino?
They can't. I mean, standing on principle prevents that.
That's the thing. And it makes me hate it in some circles, but I take that all day. Call me all these names. I've never been called a rhino. I've never been called a liberal. I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. So I'm sitting there, I see this, and I say, oh, it's Jeremy. Look, I want to be clear about something, and he's probably watching. I don't dislike anybody. You know this about me. If people think I get up in the morning looking for enemies, I do not. I get up in the morning looking to fight for what I believe in, and if it creates enemies, I'm perfectly satisfied with that.
Yeah.
But I don't wake up thinking about these guys or girls. I just saw an issue and I popped out there, and I did it aggressively. And I'll tell you why I did. There's a little bit of a past there. And I don't think it's a past that any of my supporters deserve, but it's a past there nonetheless. And again, if I'm wrong about these issues, fact check me. If you're listening, am I wrong about this? Post underneath and fact check me, okay? I'm good with that. And if I'm wrong, I will come back and I will say, listen, I messed that fact up, okay? Is that a deal?
That is a deal.
You with me?
I'm with you.
Well, here's the thing. In the post, I referred to him as a Teletubby. Now, that was bombastic. And you say, why on earth would you have done that? It's so insulting. Well, here's the thing. I knew it would attract attention for one.
Yeah.
I wasn't born yesterday. Social media needs something to drive the conversation, and I knew a little labeling would drive the conversation. I didn't do it with a hateful spirit. I was trying to make sure the whole world was paying attention for about 24 hours, and I think they have.
It worked.
I think it did. Number two, you think, well, why would you do that? Because that's kind of beneath you. And that there's an argument to be said for that. And I'll be the first to concede that I don't like a lot of this name calling. Politics has become just a drop box of name calling lately. Have you noticed?
It definitely has.
And I think people do it for one of the same reasons I did. It will attract an immediate reaction.
Oh, it worked big time.
But, here we are. But now there is a background to this. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I don't dislike him, but there's a background here because we go way back. People don't realize this, but there was a time he was a supporter. There was a time I thought he was a conservative. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. People have disagreements, and it's okay to have disagreements. That doesn't mean I'm bullying anybody. It doesn't mean he's bullying me. It's called just a disagreement, and that happens in politics a lot. It happens in the law a lot. And some people don't like disagreements, and so they react very flamboyantly or negatively. I, for one, have never minded, not once, a disagreement with somebody, because one of two things will happen, right? Either we'll both learn from it or we won't, but at least we've both had our peace. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But the past is this, and I want you to go back with me just quickly. I'm not here to talk bad about anybody, but you tell me if I'm wrong about this. In 2023, I think it was Jeremy that called my supporters, garbage, didn't he?
I remember that.
And trash. Now, I don't ever take insults to me personally. I mean, that's just part of it. He called me a loser in a TV commercial. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
It bothered me one bit. When you start calling people trash, that got my attention.
Yeah.
And so remember, though I had a bit of hyperbole when I used the phrase I used,
Mm-hmm.
there was a background here. And what's funny is a lot of folks didn't even realize that background existed. One more thing about it, back in 2023, in the ad he cut against me, do you remember that ad?
I do.
And again, no hard feelings. These are just facts. And it concerned me then, it concerns me now. I'm not mad about it. I'm really not. But in 2023, he cut an ad against me, which is fine. He was just working with Delbert. It's fine. Delbert won that race fair and square.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. But
and Jeremy got a nice, chairmanship.
I didn't like it, but he won it fair and square.
Mm-hmm.
In the ad, he said that I had missed a vote on that the porn bill for schools.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. It's in the public record.
Mm-hmm.
Check. I supported the bill, but he said it anyway.
Yep.
So there's a history here. And look, I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying that you go through these things with people, you start scratching your head and you say, why does this guy hate me so much?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do return the favor with a name,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it because I dislike him. It just seemed relevant after all the names I've been called by him all these years. And I'm not justifying or defending it. It's just that, my goodness, when you call my friends trash and garbage, when you say you don't support Trump, and I know that's not a litmus test, I get that, but Trump was our guy.
Mm-hmm.
It just frustrates me. And that kind of led to the frustration you saw displayed yesterday. But again, if that upsets you, that's okay. I get upset every day. That's called living in America. Now, with that said, again, I'm not looking to fight the whole world tonight because there's a difference between the way some senators responded in 2023 and some didn't, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There was a couple of senators there that don't like me very much, but they were always very clear about that. And they went on the campaign trail and they hounded me and debated me everywhere I went. That earned my respect.
Yeah.
That earned my respect. Senator Sparks earned my respect. He's a smart, bright, strong person. He never claimed I was bullying him.
No, he did not.
He never cried. He never complained. He came to fight. And I respected that because I don't think I've ever bullied anybody. Have I?
Not that I can think
Maybe
of.
my son. Maybe Cambridge.
Maybe sometimes on a basketball court.
But the point is, there's a difference between behaving like that and you're strong and you're fighting me. And I get that. I'll give you another example. There's another guy I served with, and he never really fought me a lot, but he disagreed with me. Briggs Hobson.
Mm-hmm.
What a nice guy. What a pleasant human. I mean, what a person of character. We didn't agree, but it was like he could agree, disagree. He could disagree agreeably. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I've had that with certain people.
I like that.
Yeah,
I never minded that one bit because disagreement is just part of the process.
It's a lost art nowadays, and I think that's why you find it even more refreshing to where you can agree to disagree, because nowadays most people won't agree to disagree. They're just going to hammer.
Or they feel personally attacked.
Yes.
And that's not what's happening here. There's no, oh my gosh, I'm being picked on. That's not what's happening. It's a disagreement. And sometimes strong words are used. But I never thought twice about some of these guys attacking me. They were legit and they made good arguments. I didn't agree with them, but I could see the positions they were taking, and I thought it was legit. But when you start calling my supporters garbage and trash, that's not an argument. And it to me, it went over the top. And so all this is in context, right? So when it took place, my first thought was, just like Tate, what is going on with the party?
Yeah.
My second thought was, my Lord, we control almost all the seats in that chamber. How could this possibly get out of?
Yeah.
Right?
That was the same thing I thought.
And my third thought was, my goodness, the Democrats must be jubilant. And so immediately I wasn't. I know that's crazy. I don't like it when the Democrats win, Jack.
And I don't either.
So let's talk about early voting just for a second. I'm not going to beat this dead horse. I'm not. It's not the biggest issue in the world. What it shows to me is a slide toward the left that disturbs me. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, they're passing tax cuts this year. I mean, come on, we'll get to that in another show. What about the arguments? And the studies I've read go way back. You're talking about 10, 15, some 20 years. And one thing has been consistent. The Republicans have always been against early voting. Mm-hmm. The Democrats have always been for it.
That's accurate.
And then I said, forget the studies. Let's drill down and just to the media. And, the Democrat organizations that push for liberal causes, all for early voting. All the conservative websites, all against early voting. So here we are. And I start the argument with that premise, is that we've always been against it, and there are reasons for that. Here's the first thing. Increased risk for fraud and election manipulation, right? Mm-hmm. Ballot security issues. The longer the voting period, the greater risk of lost, misplaced, or tampered ballots. That's what the data shows. Chain of custody concerns. Ballots turned in early could be unguarded for weeks before being actually counted. What happens in the meantime? What are the procedures by which these boxes are guarded? And I can tell you right now, even with the process we presently have, there is fraud. Mm-hmm. And it's not almost never on the day of the voting. The fraud almost always takes place in the absentee voting process. Yeah. So basically, we're actually understanding that fraud does exist. We can see that it exists, and now we're opening it up potentially for 3 weeks. And so Republicans have always been mostly against that. There's also ballot harvesting risk, according to these studies. And I'll get into that at another show, because we all know how ballot harvesting hurt Donald Trump. And Mississippi will not allow that, thank goodness. But again,
for now,
that's my point. One compromise after the other. Next thing you know, we could be there. There's also these issues of voter coercion. According to these studies, early voting increases the opportunity for voters to be pressured by employers, union leaders, activists. That's a problem. Unions vote almost 100% Democrat. Okay. Other studies have shown that disenfranchisement can occur in late-stage developments. Candidate withdrawals or deaths can't be accounted for. Breaking news down the stretch can't be accounted for. But let me tell you my one personal objection to early voting, because I've been there. Do you know what it is, Jack?
Tell me.
Thank you for asking. When you run against an incumbent, and for whatever reason, I've always done that, and it's incredibly frustrating.
You're telling me if somebody who's worked in those.
That explains why I'm sitting here right now and not somewhere else. Because I have run against incumbents, and when you start the process, when you begin the process running against an incumbent, it's going to be tough. There's a reason they win 98% of the time. We're not crazy when we say, let's take on Thad, or let's take on Cindy, or let's take on Delbert. We're not crazy. We know the fight is going to be intense, and we know our chances of success are going to be pretty slim. That's just the nature of the game. It's slim in large part because they outraise us. I mean, you can just imagine. I mean, you run against these powerful people, and they have so many friends, and they have so many business acquaintances, and they have so many contracts they've given, and so many handshakes they've had, and so many government favors they've given, and they can raise these unlimited sums of money. Yeah. Early voting is going to increase the cost of running an election. It's going to hurt primary challengers that are trying to face incumbents. Now, I thought, as a drain the swamp kind of person, we should be trying to encourage people to take on incumbents. But to do so, we have to fund them. That ain't going to happen. So if you are running against an incumbent, you've got to hold your powder. You got to keep your powder dry to the last, few weeks, right?
Yep.
What happens here, now you've got to shoot that powder 3 weeks earlier or 4 weeks earlier than you would have otherwise. That's TV. That's direct mail pieces. That's radio. The cost of running the campaign is going to skyrocket for the challenger. It's an incumbent protection mechanism.
It absolutely is.
And so I can tell you this because I've been there and I know how difficult it is to raise money. And then you finally do raise some and you're like, okay, we've got one shot.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be roughly about 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
And we're going to buy our ads. Meanwhile, the establishment is pounding millions and millions and millions into it. And now if we expand it, that's going to double that short-term cost because it doubles the duration prior to the raise. Yeah. Something else bothers me about this. If you're running, and let's just say that the establishment spends a bunch of money on a really nasty ad, and let's just say that ad is incredibly successful, right? Mm-hmm. And then some guy pops up 3 weeks prior to the race, rushes out to vote. The next day, somebody gets mad, rushes out to vote. That ad is compelling. It's making people mad. And they all go vote. Bam, bam, bam. 5 days before the race, it turns out the ad was a dadgum lie.
Yep.
These people have all voted already.
Yep.
The election's cast. And so these undecided voters that normally are the ones that sway the election, they've already voted with bad information. The other information breaks and they can't correct their vote. Furthermore, what about late breaking developments? What about, I say, for example, Hunter Biden? Mm-hmm. He's never done anything wrong, has he?
No.
Let's just say that Trump's running against Biden, a few years ago, and the late breaking story comes out about Hunter doing Lord knows what with who knows who.
What he was doing.
Well, let's say it breaks too late. Mm-hmm. And, 17 million people have already voted.
Yeah.
You can't change your vote.
No.
Okay, one more argument I would make. What about civic responsibility? I was always taught that election day was important. I was always taught you go vote.
Yep.
I was always taught that was something you set aside and made it happen. But now because we want to be convenienced, we don't mind opening this up to potential fraud and abuse. I don't get that. Here's an idea. Why don't we get rid of one of these federal holidays? I don't know, President's Day. Have you celebrated President's Day in a while?
No. I can't even remember when it was.
And now they're going to hit me with that. He doesn't like the presidents. I'm just saying, get rid of one of these federal holidays and replace it for that national holiday on the day of voting. Yeah. And that way everybody can be off work to go cast their vote. If that's the problem.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I've never understood. I mean, I've got friends that are handicapped who make that sacrifice to go on election day and would make the same argument that you're making against early voting. We don't need early voting. We need a one-day thing. It's better for everyone. It's better for you as a voter because I'm telling you right now, as Chris just pointed out, that again, let's say you vote 45 days in advance. And then, to Chris's point, this big scandal breaks. You don't get to take that vote back. It's cast. You've now cast your vote for somebody that now you found out after the fact wasn't who you thought he was. And that's a vote that you cast, and you might have been the deciding vote in that election, and you made that vote too early before you had all the facts. Election day should matter. There is a reason why it was always done the way that it has been done. And there's a reason the Democrats want to change it.
That's the Democrats are pushing for it. Now, here's the thing. One argument they make, it's a fair argument, that Trump was able to utilize early voting successfully this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the amount of money he raised?
I did.
He was able to raise significant, magnificent, thank God, sums of money so they could find ways to push voters. Regular candidates can't do that.
No.
Especially insurgent candidates against establishment individuals. Yep. We can't do that. So, Trump did it. Trump's an anomaly. He's not only one of the greatest marketing people we've seen, he's able to raise unbelievable sums of money. Yeah. And so he can implement the early voting where it's required. And yet he'll tell you right away he hates it. He doesn't like it. The press attacked him. He keeps having these inconsistent statements about early voting. They really weren't that inconsistent. He was against it. Yeah. And then they told him, dude, we need early voters. And he said, okay, fine, go vote early. But he never liked it. And he didn't like it because he knew intuitively that Republicans have always known, just probably like he's always known, that it's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
right? One more thing, and I'm going to move past this. There's no point in beating a dead horse. This bill's going to pass, and it's not going to matter one way or the other. And this will be another example of another compromise that occurs that just changed things. And that's whatever, because we're just too darn busy to go vote.
Yep.
That 18% that actually cast a vote in a state race or whatever the case may be. We're just too darn busy. So we got to have a special early voting period. I don't know. I guess convenience nowadays outweighs anything. Oh, yep. Let me just close the argument. Did I tell you the Democrats want this really badly?
I think I heard that once or twice.
Do you suppose there might be a reason for that?
I think we know what that reason is. They know they can game the system.
Lord help us. It's not, like I said, it's not the end of the world kind of issue, and it probably didn't mean to engender this kind of debate, but it's an example of just this constant move to the left that we're seeing all across the country, but especially in some of these, watch me, some of these red states.
Yeah.
Like Mississippi. You know, it's crazy. You talk to people on the street all day today. Now, I realize there's two sides to this equation, and I realize that Democrats overwhelmingly support early voting. When I'm talking to Republicans, my email box filled up today, and they were all against early voting. The text messages, all against early voting. And you say, well, that's because your text and your emails are skewed conservative. That's right.
Why wouldn't they be?
That's exactly right. And I'm telling you what conservative voters are telling me.
Yeah.
So look, it's like I said, we're gonna attract some negative attention, and that's okay. But whenever we see something like this, we owe it to the people of this state and the country to raise awareness. And like I said, if I've said anything wrong, correct me. But I don't think that I have. I think. Oh, by the way, just for the record, I have. You can't make this up. I think I maybe covered 6 studies or 6 points to studies. Do you see all this?
I see it.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. There is 9 points with 3 subheadings under each. 27 different arguments as to why early voting is bad, and we covered about 7 of them.
Yeah.
Point is, it used to be we Republicans knew what we wanted. It used to be we fought for what we wanted. And now we're distracted and confused, and we'll have to see what happens as these compromises continue to take place, and how it affects the overall longevity and health of our democracy, as the Democrats might say. Hey, it's a republic, by the way.
It is a republic.
It's a republic, by the way. All right. With that said, I think it's time for an ad, don't you?
Let's pay some bills.
Thank goodness.
Resort.
Okay, moving on to bigger and better things than early voting.
Okay.
You know, there are occasionally in my life, and listen, I've taken it easy on so many people tonight, Jack.
I noticed.
I've taken it easy on so many people. I kept waiting for you to lash out, but you've been very tempered as well.
You set the tone. I wanted to lash out because, I can be a little bit meaner at times. Jim brought out, an even meaner side of me last week when I tried to be nice to Kamala Harris, and, he said, no, she's dumb. I said, all right, I'm going to agree with you. It might have been the whiskey we were drinking too. I don't know.
Jim's the kind of guy, he doesn't mix those words up too much. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and that's important. I would elect him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would vote for Jim in a heartbeat.
Vote him in a heartbeat. We need more plain-spoken people that just say what they think.
Yeah.
Gets me in trouble.
Yeah, there's a reason I went to work for him.
That's the reason I'm sitting here, not in politics.
That's fair, too.
Anyway. What was I going to talk about? Oh, Facebook. Mm-hmm. I've learned that if I just kind of scroll through Facebook, I can find stories. And it's not because they're actual stories, it's because people are crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of some of the folks that took it easy on tonight, because if I could read some of these responses, some of these arguments, it's people. What can you say? You ever see that little boy on Reels, and he points, he goes, people.
Yep. I've seen that
sometimes. And I love them. I love people, but Facebook, man. X. I don't do X. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a great
We
bit.
probably should.
I've heard now it's a conservative stronghold, but I remember the dark old days when the liberals controlled it. And every time I posted something, I got like 16,000 hateful messages. So I said, forget this. I'm not doing X anymore. But I hear that Musk has kind of, rectified that.
That's what I hear. I did start a Right Side X page, but I still don't know how to get followers. So follow the Right Side page.
That's going to work. The thing about Musk is, and now I'm diverting. Now I'm completely off on a tangent. But the thing about Musk is, I like the fact the liberals hate him so much because it tells me he's on the right track. Have you ever seen such screaming and consternation and upset human beings just because he's trying to cut something from the federal government? They filed lawsuits. They've had rallies and parades. You think this guy was the most evil man on the planet, when in fact he's just doing what he's asked to do. Now get this. Let me blow your mind out. All this anger. You do realize that he hasn't touched and is not allowed to touch any of the so-called Entitlement 3. Did you know that?
I did not.
Well, hear me out. Off limits, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, off limits. Off limits, most of the military spending. You add all that up, that's 87% of the federal budget. So in other words, he's getting yelled at and screamed at because he's, cut a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like big numbers to the liberals, but it's really not. But aren't you happy to see somebody actually doing something?
Ecstatic.
It's crazy because I'm seeing now, and I'm not going to judge some of these senators too harshly because I know they get confused sometimes. Most of them are very old. Mm-hmm. Most are very old. And
some are having issues, even
walking.
Attending.
Now, even walking. I saw one senator, and it was Kennedy out of Louisiana, which for the most part is a pretty good dude, I guess. Mm-hmm. But he was just praising that Musk has done this. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. It begs the question, however, where have y'all been the last 20 years?
Amen.
And that caught me the other night. I'm sitting there thinking, they're now praising him. Yet don't we elect these people for this very reason?
It's what we thought we were.
Do we have to depend on Elon Musk to the job of a congressman? Because he's doing a better job right now than most of our congress people are, right?
Sadly, yes.
Isn't that interesting? And yet he takes those actions. Oh, it just dawned on me. Like a light bulb. This is why we do this show. Let me tell you why this is happening. You see, politicians are more concerned about re-election. They don't want to face public scrutiny. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk doesn't give a darn.
Nope.
Now we're on to something. And why can't we elect people like that? And I'm not, listen, calm down. I realize he's South African. Everybody relax, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying elect billionaires. I'm not saying elect foreigners or foreign ports. What I'm saying is people that are so strong and so courageous, they don't care what the left says.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do here on this show. It just doesn't work because for whatever reason, the Republicans we do have are more concerned about the feelings and getting reelected. And maybe that's the brilliance of Musk. Maybe that's the brilliance of what Trump has done here. Maybe by creating this almost extra governmental organization, calling him a special employee of the federal government, and then setting him loose where he can't be touched, maybe there's a degree of genius behind that move.
I think there is.
Isn't that something? Where's this been all our lives?
Uh-oh. Getting storm warnings, apparently.
Let me see what this is. If that's a tornado warning, I'm gone. What's it say?
It is a tornado warning. Till 7:30.
Seriously?
It seriously is. Till 7:30.
Is it here in Jones County?
Let's see. It does. I can't see where it says. It says in this area, so yes.
That's about right. I'm going to blame the Democrats for that.
It is the Democrats.
Listen, here's the thing. Hey, Jim, is this building sturdy?
It is. It's been here for 100 years.
Jim and I did a show one time during a tornado.
No, forget it. I'm not worried about you in a tornado. I'm worried about me in a tornado. First of all, second of all, I'm worried about the staff. Mm-hmm. We should probably. Here's the thing. It's probably going to be okay. But if these are our last words. Now my son's calling. Hold on a second. Hold on. This is going to be fine. Hey, son, you okay? Well, no, you should probably, because there's a tornado coming, you should probably go downstairs. That video game can wait, my man. Listen to me. The tornadoes, go downstairs. You can pause. I'm doing a radio show live right now. They're watching you calling in right now.
You're on the air.
You're on the air. It's the tornado. Go downstairs. All right.
That's going to be our highest rated segment
That dude just told me, he goes, Daddy, I can't. I'm playing a video game. See the mindset of kids?
That's why you knew to answer it.
Certain destruction on the way. And he's like, No, he heard the siren go off. You know what his first question was? Hey, Daddy, I'm upstairs. Am I okay? No, you're not.
Go down.
Okay, where were we? Oh, destruction. we were talking about the very real possibility of us getting hit by a tornado. Now, listen, we say that tongue-in-cheek. This is going to make the national news when this is the last Midnight Ride episode.
That's fair.
I want you all to know I've had a good time.
Do we need to break the whiskey back out from last week?
How are we supposed to focus with this kind of immense pressure? How can we even discuss things? Anyway.
Well, we're talking about disasters of government, it kind of ties in.
I think better. Elon Musk is presently a tornado in Washington.
He is.
He's ripping things up. Hey, did you see all these reports of the things he's cut, particularly with U.S. aid? Mm-hmm. This U.S. aid organization was like a Democrat of the DNC's bread box, wasn't it?
Insane.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, wow.
And so get this, going back to where I can be more critical to our politicians, didn't they vote for all those budgets that funded that nonsense?
They did.
What is going on in Washington?
And part of the reason you see them now praising Musk for finding it is because, again, they want to jump on that train. They want to be seen as being a part of it. And they want you to ignore what you just pointed out, the fact that they created the problem in the first place because they voted for these bills. In many ways, I'm sure there's some that can honestly say they didn't know that was there because of how big those bills are. But I bet you the vast majority did know they were there, and they did nothing to stop it. They voted for those bills anyway.
Well, here's the thing. It's frustrating because we've been screaming for years, some of us have, about the national debt.
Yep.
And we keep electing these same people, and they go up there, and it takes... Is that the tornado?
I think that's the phone. I think you're good this time.
Yeah, you know what the phone's saying? It's saying, are you upstairs, downtown Laurel? It's saying, are we good?
All cover. This is going to be our highest rated show ever.
Nobody's watching this.
You know that, right?
Okay, so let's go back to what I was trying to discuss before our imminent destruction. I don't know what to tell you. I was talking about Elon Musk. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and now, of course, because of the storm, my Facebook's frozen. Let's see what we got here. What we got? There's early voting. There's Jeremy. I made a post, and this made a lot of liberals upset, but it goes back to something I believe strongly. The more he cuts, the more free we are.
That's accurate.
And people say, what does that even mean? How could you say that? Well, there are many ways to equate freedom and liberty. Economic is one of them. And what I've always noticed is that the more economic strength the government has, the less economic strength regular taxpayers seem to have, right?
Yeah.
So when Elon Musk is cutting something, he's literally trying to give you back some of your hard-earned money. But more importantly, when they're cutting these extra agencies, these unusual sub-agencies, he's also getting them out of your way so you can exist without interference. Remember, we've talked about this before. Conservatism seeks to conserve a space. And you say, well, what does that space look like? Well, it's more than just single issues. We're pro-life, but we're not just pro-life. We're anti-tax, but we're not just anti-tax. We're here to conserve a space. And you say, what is that space? It's a place where people can operate without politicians controlling their lives. I want a big space. The founders gave us a big space. Watch this. When they first brought this country into fruition, it was a big space. The federal government had almost no power whatsoever. Local governments, almost no power whatsoever. We had the ability to live in a space free from political manipulation or interference. But over the years, every little program, every little cut, every little issue we compromised on, that space shrunk. And now that space is tight. It's real tight. You wonder whether there's not more economic prosperity? The space shrunk. While you don't feel as free as you once did, the space shrunk. And to the extent that he's cutting, he's increasing that space. And what's the predictable argument we heard from the left? I've heard it a million times, and I'm tired of it. What do they say, Jack? We didn't elect Elon Musk.
I've seen that. Yep.
I didn't elect the IRS.
Nope.
Department of Justice.
Nope.
FBI.
Nope.
The Fed.
Nope.
I didn't elect any of those people. What's their point? I didn't elect Dr. Fauci.
No, you did
I
not.
didn't elect Bill Gates.
Nope.
What's their point? It's funny when they get their way, they're not so concerned about election transparency or something elected. As long as they're getting their way, everything's fine.
Yep.
And the second someone steps up to block it, it's an absolute disgrace. Much like the Super Bowl halftime show.
That's what you call a segue.
That is brilliance. It's the tornado. It's got my adrenaline up. I'm thinking fast.
Yeah, I can feel your energy.
So I'm trying to. I didn't watch, honestly. In fairness, I didn't watch much of the Super Bowl, and it's not because I just don't find the NFL quite as enjoyable as I once did.
That's fair.
And I'm not trying to make a political statement there, even though I could, because it seems they've gone off the rails a time or two. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. College football is intriguing and fun. College baseball, Major League Baseball. Hockey, intriguing and fun. Basketball, college, intriguing and fun. But I struggle with the NBA and I struggle with the NFL. Two very different reasons, right? The NBA, I'm still trying to find teamwork and execution. And all I see is isolation and 75-foot jump shots.
Yeah.
With the NFL, I see a lot of wealthy guys, which is nothing wrong with being wealthy, but seem to be detached with everyday issues and problems.
That's accurate.
Including Jerry Jones, who is the most attached human being on the planet right now. Don't get me started with the Dallas Cowboys. But the Super Bowl show, I don't understand what the NFL is doing. I don't understand how they can be so tone deaf to the rest of the country. I realize they're trying to attract a young audience.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But maybe it's just me. I watched part of that halftime show and I was just perplexed. I just shook my head. It didn't seem like entertainment. And of course, the young people say, well, that's because you're old. Well, no, it's because I can hear. I have ears, right? That's why. Number two, I posted right as it was occurring, just whatever that was. Mm-hmm. I just said in jest, which now it's not a jest. How about George Strait at the Super Bowl?
I would support that, and I think most Americans would.
Okay, well, this is the moment. I think we, as the Midnight Ride Network, should start a petition. Maybe sign up 18, 19 people.
Mm-hmm. I think we got that many.
And get George Strait to play the next Super Bowl.
Draft George Strait. You
got to say it right, Jack.
Well, but again, my adrenaline's going, so I can't speak as clear.
We're petrified, facing certain death. George Strait has 60 number one hits, as I recall, and maybe more, maybe less, but about 60. I've never seen him have to dance.
Nope.
Now you say that's all fuddy-duddy. No, it's called talent. He can sit on a chair and entertain 75,000 people, or if it was a Texan A&M, I think it was 107,000 people, and it's the same timeless music, and everybody seems to love it, except the NFL. Yeah. I just think there will be something classy about that.
Real instruments, that seems to be a lost art nowadays. I mean, again, I think that would be a great thing for the NFL to do, and it would bring attention back. People like yourself who've been turned off by so much of the nonsense, the noise that you continue to hear out of the modern NFL player. It could bring you back in, because even if you're not that involved in the actual game, how many people turn on the Super Bowl for the spectacle, that turn it on to watch it because they want to see a halftime show? I think they'd get even more if they gave us something meaningful. In fairness, I thought Prince did a great job. He did.
That was spectacular. Yeah. Didn't Coldplay do it one year?
They did it one year.
That was not bad. That was not bad. And then all of a sudden, man, I don't know. Again, I'm getting old. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's part of the problem, but I think George Strait would appeal to a much wider audience, and I think you might even see an uptick. And maybe they say it's not possible because I guess they say this was the biggest, most watched Super Bowl ever. Did that end up being the case or no?
I haven't seen, so I don't. Maybe it was, and I missed it. But I think if it was the largest audience, I'd see it everywhere.
Was it bad? Was it bad that I took some, minor degree of pleasure in watching Taylor Swift get booed?
I get it. I definitely get it. And no, I don't think it's bad because, again, she's being forced down our throat.
I don't dislike her. No. I don't. I think, and I know she gets a raw deal sometimes because of the nature of the press. But my goodness, you talk about two overexposed human beings right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind the Chiefs. But I was kind of like, dadgum, can we see another team Can we watch
Yeah.
somebody else play besides the Chiefs?
No.
And maybe that's bad because I know Kansas City is a great town and they're good blue collar folks. They're working hard and they love their Chiefs. But dadgummit, enough's enough.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. There was a story you sent earlier, and it seemed to be a writer. You'll have to remind me the writer's name. But his argument is that the booing of Taylor Swift was the result of toxic masculinity. I thought it was a result of drunken Philadelphia Eagles fans. Did you miss that?
I'm pretty confident it was
the Eagles
drunken
fans booing her.
Philadelphia
But I don't
fans.
think they're booing her because of toxic masculinity. I think they were good and lit before the game and probably would have booed anybody with a Chiefs uniform on. Stop. Focus on this. Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You know how the fans are in Philadelphia.
They are the standard for terrible sports fans in America.
And if that's the case, why don't we automatically assume that it must have been toxic masculinity when it's just Philadelphia?
Because that's what the left does.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. Every story, it's like they walk into the newsroom and they think, how can I write something with an agenda today? That wasn't toxic masculinity. Now, football might be toxic in its masculinity, but that's not why they were booing her. She was a Kansas City Chiefs person, and she got booed because of that.
Yep.
I guarantee you, had she put on green, it would have been inverted.
Well, flip it on its head. There was an actress there, Anne Hathaway. She was wearing Eagles gear and was called on TV. No, she got cheered because she was wearing green.
And of
like
course,
you were
the Philadelphia fans are naturally just very boisterous people. I've been around those people, and I'm not going to stereotype all of them, but man, it's almost as bad as St. Louis Cardinals fans. Isn't that right, Jim?
That's accurate.
Jim's a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. Now, they're not as bad as Philadelphia. I hear it back there.
I think this show's about to get canceled.
It's not going to be the tornado that gets me. It's going to be Jim and a sleeper. No, I say that because if you go to Chicago, and I love the Cubs, you know that. You've been with me a bunch of times. It never fails when you play the St. Louis Cardinals. It's always the same trip. You get out there and you downtown, you jump on the red line going out to Wrigley, you go into the Addison stop where the field is, and it's filled with Cardinals fans.
Yep.
And they are the kindest, nicest people on the planet right up until they beat you 10-2.
Yep.
And then you got to get back on the L train and go back downtown, and you hear it the whole way
Not
back.
a fun fan base on the way back.
On the way back. And the thing is, it's kind of like, the Yankees and the Cardinals, they're right up there. These are the baseball cathedrals, right?
They are.
I don't mean as far as the fields themselves. I mean as far as the franchises themselves. I mean,
Gold standards.
haven't they won enough, Jim?
He said no.
Haven't they won enough? At some point, it's funny. I always tell the story, being a Chicago Cubs fan my whole life. The Cubs, look, we went back to back, baby. Back to back.
The first team ever.
Back to back. 1907, 1908, right? Back to back. You can't beat that. And then there's a stretch of, I don't know, less than good baseball. They played in the World Series again in 1945. They win the pennant in 45, and then they're cursed, or at least allegedly so, it seems so, by a man who wanted his goat to be there.
That's accurate.
Okay, the GOAT was allowed at Wrigley for a time. The GOAT attended regular season games. I don't know why you mess with that. And then you get to the pennant, they say, no GOAT. Well, this guy, got a little gypsy in him. He walks the GOAT around, throws a curse on the Cubs, and there you had it. From 1945 till basically the end of time, the Cubs do nothing until 2016.
Yeah.
Perspective. The Yankees have won 27 world championships since the Cubs won their first one.
That's fair.
Sitting here today, the Cubs have 3. They have 26 or 27. And the Cardinals probably have 14?
It's something like that.
It's
and
disgusting.
all since the Cubs won their first team.
That's the point. That's the point. It's kind of like, what are we doing? We've picked the very worst franchise in the world. But you know what the good Lord said? We prayed to God multiple times, if you'll just give us one World Series.
That was our mistake.
And he said, okay, you'll get 2016 and no more for you, right?
It seems
now,
that way.
But get this, though. I don't know how we got on this. The tornado's got my brain fried. 2016 was one of the most remarkable things I'd ever seen. Do you remember it?
I can't forget it.
Okay, so that team, absolutely brilliantly put together. 5 of the best pitchers in the league. Am I crazy?
No, you
What
aren't.
a rotation. And then look at your position fielders, right? Look, not great, but wonderful. I mean, Addison Russell's a shortstop. He can't hit, but he can field, right?
Yeah.
You got Bryant, third, Rizzo, first. You got a team.
Together, you had something special.
You had something special. And I sit there thinking in 2016, watching them win this thing, I'm an idiot. I say,
Dynasty.
And since then, we've had a dynasty, all right.
Yeah.
We're right back where we were for the previous 106 years.
Yeah, and
years.
all those players gone.
Are you kidding me? Okay. There are T-shirts about this.
I have some in my closet.
There are T-shirts about this. The saddest day in the history of the world was a Friday at Wrigley Field. You know what happened there? We lost Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant within roughly 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm still a silly person that I am. I'm watching, you hear about these pending trades, and I'm like, it's kind of like before the Notre Dame game. You're like, please, Lord, let the Irish win. And I'm sitting there saying, Lord, if you'll just listen, we can do without Baez. Let us just keep Chris Bryant and Rizzo. And then
Sean Rizzo.
And they're like, Lord, please, can we just keep Chris Bryant?
Nope, going to San Francisco.
And I'm like, this is the worst day ever. And by the way, again, I don't know how we got on this, but since then, they've struggled to even field a team. My son's high school team could beat the Cubs most nights. This is what happens. Well,
we went from the Taylor Swift deal and this Stephanie McNeil, the senior editor of the Glamour magazine, trying to blame her booing on people being misogynistic against, and couldn't be further from the truth. So by talking about Philly bad fans, we jumped to that. But I do want to go to something, Chris, because I thought I was fact checking you when you said that the current Super Bowl set a record audience.
Well, I heard
you were correct.
I was correct.
Yeah, you were correct. So no fact check here.
Take that, Democrats.
Take that, me, because I was the one trying to fact check you.
Well, at least I got one thing right tonight. Clearly messed up early voting, but got that.
No, I think you were spot on there.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss tonight, Zach?
There's so much going on in the country.
Filler.
I'm good at filler.
That's such filler.
I'm
well,
really
actually,
good at filler.
I have no idea what I'm about to say, so let me use some words.
Look, I'm using words while I pull up stories. Chris, one of the things I'm sure you've noticed is Walt Disney and their older movies. They seem to have a problem with their older movies where they're putting these idiotic disclaimers before them, these trigger warnings, if you will.
Yeah, and that triggers me. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, it's called contextualization. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Go ahead.
We got about 5 minutes. I think I can do 5 on contextualization. I remember a few years ago, I was up at Ole Miss giving a speech. Flow with me here. I'm cooking. You with me, Jack?
I'm ready.
Right. I'm up at Ole Miss a few years ago giving a speech, and this was back when I was popular. And I'd been asked to give a speech up there. And so I went up there to give a speech, and the issue was these monuments. And, Ole Miss has a number of Confederate monuments. Well, actually, one big monument, and then another just off the campus, and then several road signs and things that give a nod to those days. And there was a debate, and I found myself, imagine that, in the middle of a debate. And I was being, attacked pretty aggressively on the issue of contextualization. There needs to be a plaque. I said, a plaque? Yes, we're going to put a plaque on these monuments, a plaque in front of these things, and we're going to explain what this is. I said, well, that's neat. I said, can I write it? See the problem?
Yeah.
The contextualization is always written by the left.
Yeah.
Let us write the contextualization. It'll be a whole different story, and thus is the problem with contextualization. It's driven by an agenda. So Disney, you have these wonderful American iconic movies with Disney, and yes, there's going to be some things in those movies. It's just like if you're watching Fred Sanford, and that's hardly Disney, or Archie Bunker. You're going to see some incredibly offensive things with Fred Sanford. You don't remember Fred Sanford.
I remember Fred
Do you remember
Sanford.
Archie Bunker, the conversations he used to have?
Absolutely, all in the family.
He used to say some things that nowadays would get him smooth, triggered banned, right? Be over. You're going to find that. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it's not something we should discard. We should try to understand it in the context in which it was displayed, but more importantly, as humor.
Yeah.
What's wrong with laughing?
Nothing.
Dave Chappelle is one of the most clever, brilliant comedians I've ever heard, and he manages to offend everybody. But isn't that the point of being a comedian? Shouldn't you leave there at least partially offended,
Yeah.
yet at the same time laughing your tail off. Same with these old movies. Yes, there's going to be some things that potentially could be offensive. But have we raised a generation of people that are so sensitive that they can't watch a 1937 Disney cartoon and not
Sadly,
feel
yes.
disciplined by it or somehow upset by it? You do understand that in the 1940s, there were 18-year-olds storming beaches at Normandy to liberate a continent from
Yep.
Nazism.
Yep.
And now we can't let these 18-year-olds today watch a 1942 Disney movie because it could have an offensive element in it.
Or we have to warn them before they watch.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Something's wrong there. And here's what's wrong. The most important lesson we can teach our kids about living in a free society is that sometimes you're going to be offended.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn to live with being offended and respect other people's right to speak their mind. Get this, I'm going to blow your mind now. You know what else you respect? Their right to worship how they want to worship.
Yep.
Their right to spend their money the way they want to spend their
Yep.
money. You may not like it, but we're Americans and we respect those individual differences. It seems the leftists have gone the other direction. They seem to want conformity. And if you don't live up to this standard and check 3 boxes, you can't be heard, or there has to be a warning label attached to it. So I don't know. It's weird to me to see a country develop warriors and frontiersmen and all these great, strong people. And now we have folks that need safe places at the universities. That's just strange to me.
It is strange to me. Now, we got a small victory with these Disney movies. They're not doing away with the trigger warning, but they've simplified it into something smaller. So
but no, they have
just get rid of it.
They have a couple of those old movies are now banned. You can't find them anymore.
Yeah.
I'm talking about gone.
Yep.
It wasn't the one called Song of the South.
Song of the South.
It's gone.
They changed the ride at Disney World that was based on characters from Song of the South.
You know,
no reason.
I've written that a dozen times, and not once did I ever pick up any connotation.
No, it wasn't there.
It was a cartoon.
Yeah,
it's a cartoon. I saw they get rid of one of the Jamboree bears too. One of those.
I saw that
animatrix bears. You're gonna love this. It's almost always because of some gender issue or race issue. Not this guy.
I remember.
They called him liver lips. It was a metaphor for alcoholism.
Apparently so.
And they banned it at Disney. I mean, he's been there since the park was built, and now all of a sudden you can't say liver lips. Did I read that right?
No, yes, you did read it right. And it's just, and the reason you question it is because it's absolutely absurdly ridiculous.
All right, well, 1 minute to go to this absurdly ridiculous show we had today. But the good news is, I bet you that funnel cloud has passed us.
I think it has.
I bet you we're safe.
I think we're safe.
We'll go outside and the car will be upside down.
Oh, but at least you made it.
I made it.
The car can be upside down.
I made it. Okay. Listen, I've had a good time. I mean, you have to take politics and life one day at a time, and you just have to be yourself, Jack. If you offend people, that's okay. If they offend you, that's okay. We're here to fight for what we believe in. And if the whole world gets mad at us, that's cool too. I don't like you anymore because you said some weird things. But outside of that, I think we're okay.
Look, if you're lucky enough, you can say something that's good enough that we can put it on a T-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. We'll work on that.
We've got a few things. We got ideas.
More ideas, more shows next. We appreciate you being here. This has been Chris McDaniel's America. On the Midnight Ride Network, your home of the anti-establishment movement in this country. We thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. MyPillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new MyPillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.